Hey guys, welcome to the E100 guide video. Basically, this is going to be a rundown of how I have the tank set up with like the crew, the equipment, the consumables, the shells, and everything like that so you guys can see that, and then as well as how to angle the tank or how to play it in that kind of sense, and then also if you're fighting an E100, where you pen the tank and things like that, so you guys get a more in-depth idea about how the tank functions, with the idea being that this video is a precursor to the E100 third mark session video. I 3 marked an E100 this morning for the third time, the second time on EU, so I'll be making that video too. So the idea here is that you check this video out and then move on to watch that, and hopefully you'll have a lot of knowledge to pass on to that video, and it can help you even more to get to know this tank that is my oldest tier 10, and I do love it a lot. So I hope this is helpful. Let's get started. Kicking off with the equipment here, you can see that I have a rammer, which is pretty obvious, pretty standard. There's literally no reason you would ever not have a rammer on any tank that can load it, so don't need to go into that. The next two are not in a particular order of importance or anything like that. If I had to pick which one's more important, I would go with the vertical stabilizer, next most important thing. This is a 20% reduction in your permanent aim circle all of the time, which is so important. Vertical stabilizer, I put on a lot of tanks as the second crew there. So yeah, I mean, vertical stabilizer over GLD any day. GLD would only ever be in addition to the vertical stabilizer, certainly not in place of the vertical stabilizer. So going on to vents, vents I pick over the GLD because vents is a permanent increase to all of your crew. So that's reload, aim speed, your ability to drive, even your view range and things like that. So I think that's very important. Again, GLD 10%, and you have to be, that's aim time reduction, or aim speed rather. Which you have to be completely stationary to have that work and kick in. But also, with vents, it's just everything. So I just think that's more important. You could also do, some people put super heavy spall liner. I don't think that's really worth it. Your crew isn't that vulnerable anyway. Plus, I have jack of all trades and a premium med kit, so if I was going to put super heavy spall liner on it, it would be more of a defensive play, and I just don't play the E100 that way. You can put it on if you want. Personally, I don't really think it's very useful. So between a super heavy spall liner, GLD, and vents, I much prefer vents over those ones. Moving on to ammo and consumables here in the service tab. I have heat in the first slot because heat is the primary round that I'll fire out of the E100. Oh my god, gold noob! But unfortunately, the E100 has 235 standard penetration, which can roll as low as 170. It's just not good enough for a tier 10 tank. It won't deal accurately enough or adequately enough at the tier 10 level, so you want to try and minimize RNG as much as possible. And 235 pen with 15 plus second reload, along with a relatively inaccurate gun, is not something you want to be dealing with, because it's very difficult to hit weak points with this kind of gun, like say an E50M where you could, and you have 268 penetration. Unfortunately, E100 can't get away with that sort of thing. Now, it does have a large ammo capacity, so you can of course load what I would do about 25 heat. You'll never get through that, so that's more than enough. 15 AP, those of course has its uses. When you're guaranteed to have low armored tanks as your next targets, AP is fine, of course. Not to mention the AP is better when it comes to like hitting things on the tracks. The last thing you want to do is heat an AMX 1390. Sometimes it's iravoidable. Of course, they will curse and scream at you because they assume you loaded it for them and for some reason, and not the E3 that they just drove by on their team. Bizarre. But regardless, the AP does have its uses because of that. 10 HE is more than enough. You won't really use it that often. People say, oh, I hold on IS-7s. Well, generally, I'll just try to move around that. Rather than waste an HE shot on it. IS-7 turrets can eat an absolutely block and take no damage from HE, even from the E100's gun. So yeah. However, obviously, if your next target is a Waffen target E100, have fun. It does have its uses because of that, and other things like that. So 10 of it is more than you'll ever need. Moving on to the consumables here, I have a large repair kit, large first aid kit, and chocolate. This is a pretty expensive loadout, as I'm sure you're aware, so don't expect to make much money in the E100 if you run this setup. It's one of the few tanks that I can't make money in with this kind of expensive loadout, although to be fair, after I 3-mark tanks, generally I drop this kind of loadout. The E100 is nostalgic for me. It's my first tier 10, so I let it have the most expensive loadout just because. So the large repair kit obviously helps. The large med kit obviously helps. I don't really need to go in why they're better than the things because it's not like an option. Now, the one thing that is an option here is the automatic fire extinguisher versus chocolate rations. Basically, the reason I do rations is because it does, like vents, it increases the crew, which is really important. It lowers your reload more, helps the aim speed, everything is improved. Plus, there was a patch a long time ago where they moved, I think it was a transmission from the front of the E100 in the lower plate to the back. This prevented you from getting set on fire from the front, which used to have a real issue with the E100, the E50s, the E75, where if you got shot in the lower plate, you could often get set on fire. It was hugely damaging to these tanks. That's no longer the case. You have to be set on fire from the back. So I like rations. I like to live on the wild side, but honestly, it's really not that much of a risk. If you're really that worried about it, run the fire extinguisher, or you can run rations over the med kit. I don't feel like it loses crew that much. It does happen, but if you have jack of all trades, you can do it if you really want. But personally, there's no real fire risks. Well, not a big fire risk. So I like to basically remove the fire extinguisher for the rations. But again, that's your call. So finally, we have the crew. Now, this is my E100 on an NA crew. The E100 that I 3-marked recently for the 3rd time was had a when I started out, had a much lesser crew than this. I had like 1.5 skills, I think I started on. So it was kind of interesting actually to see the difference in performance of the tank. It fought me on a lot of things that I could get away with with my crew on NA rather than this EU crew. But regardless, I'm going to show you this. So basically you have a general idea what to go for. Now, don't just copy this in order because this was not done in order. I've gone back and reset this multiple times. So this was not the order I trained it in. So this is my OCD of resetting things. Don't do it in this order. So the most important thing to go for first is repairs. This will just generally increase your track speed, make it harder for things to get around you for long periods of time. If you get tracked in the open, you can repair and get out of there. It's very important to have repairs, guys. Make sure you do that. Many of you like to do Brothers in Arms first, which is crazy to me because, well, first you need 6th Sense on the commander is a must, regardless of how slow the tank is. Some guy was trying to say on the forums about some other heavy tank, like, oh, heavy tanks don't need 6th Sense. So dumb. Please put 6th Sense on it. You need it. Vastly important. Now, Brothers in Arms is useful, but I would generally let yourself get to 2 fully trained skills and then be working on your 3rd before going back and resetting it. So then you go back, you have full Brothers in Arms, full perks, and then repairs being trained at a high level, or the other way around. That's much better. Don't train Brothers in Arms first, please. I had to deal with that demo. Anyway, so in terms of the gunner and the driver, obviously usually they have the most important things, no difference here. You definitely want gunnery skills. So you can see on the gunner here that I have Deadeye first. That's only because I have a well-trained crew and I've gone back and just put it in whatever order. You definitely want Smooth Ride first on the driver, and you want Snapshot, I think it is, on the gunner. These basically will decrease your aim time. Kind of like mini vert stabs. Very, very important for the E100 guys. Make sure you do that. Now, in terms of the driver, you have off-road or clutch. Now, to be fair, with now the 9.14 update and the clutch braking, or excuse me, the physics changes, this may not be true anymore. I have to test it. However, previously, off-road driving actually gives you a better turning effect because of terrain resistant stuff than clutch braking. So if you had off-road, you could actually turn faster than with clutch. So it's very important to do off-road anyway because it allows you to drive everywhere quickly. Personally, I prefer smooth ride before off-road, so I would go smooth ride, then off-road, and then clutch braking. But, you know, that's generally the order I would go. However, if you really want to improve the vehicle's general speed and handling, then I would go off-road first. Everything else is pretty much self-sufficient, guys. You can see that the loaders don't really have much useful stuff. You obviously go safe stowage, and on the other one, go adrenaline rush, train those two. Intuition's not that important, so I haven't actually really done it. And then I did fire after those two. And I had, obviously, the loaders really do not get many useful skills. So, as you can see, you know, I have camo being trained for lulz. So, yeah. The radio operator, the only thing I would go over here is that you should get situational awareness, which is very important to have because that improves your view range, which even on a tank like the E100 is an important factor. Going over to the commander, I have Jack of all trades. Crew member dies, Jack of all trades can kick in if I can't heal him with the med kit because I've used it or something. So useful. Also recon to improve view range. So that's pretty much it, guys, for the crew. Most of it's self-sufficient stuff, but just keep in mind in the order. Don't get brothers in arms right away, guys. Just do it after you have a few. If you really can't gold reset, then, you know, just train repairs and Sixth Sense first, and then train it as the second one. But it's worth it to invest the gold or to just maybe give up a couple percent, especially when you're at the lower end of the things. I mean, obviously, it's, you know, the amount of crew skills I have, it takes a very long time to accumulate percents, but in the first couple, it's really not so bad, so. Okay, so let's have a look at the armor. As you can see, and you probably already know, the lower plate is a weak point, just like on most tanks. Now, even at an angle, the lower plate is still pretty weak. You can see at this angle, it's not really enough to deflect the APCR pen on an M48 Patton, which is quite unfortunate. So, of course, if the Patton decides to shoot your turret, your road wheel at this angle, it's not flat enough to pen, but the lower plate is easily penned. Now, even at this angle, which is really extreme, which gives you the absolute best chance you have to pen that's not completely sideways, the Patton still pens. Now, a lot of times it will also bounce, but again, not reliable, because if you force the tank to be like this angle, they're just going to shoot through your road wheel, because the front road wheel tracks you and will do damage, and that's the same on most tanks. So if you're in the open, the E100, what I recommend to do is kind of like a little wiggle like this. If you're not trying to get somewhere, if you're trying to get somewhere, just drive at an angle. Gives yourself the best opportunity to bounce. But if you're not trying to get somewhere, you're just trying to brawl with someone and you have absolutely no cover, try something like that. Sometimes they'll miss and hit your tracks, but even if they take longer to aim, it's beneficial to you. So as you can see, that little bit is a weak point as well along the turret, and at the top of the turret here too is another weak point that can be penned on the E100. The area I shot first there is weaker, harder to pen, but the police bar really easy. And of course with heat, you can pen, or with high pen AP, APCR, you can pen through the turret cheeks, which is quite annoying. So it's important in the E100 to remember to when you're not aiming to fire at someone, you have a long reload, to angle your turret something like this, at least some similar variation of this. Or you can wiggle your turret, but at least you can see there both heat shots were unable to penetrate the E100. So this is side scraping. A lot of you are familiar with this. E100 side scrapes very well. Here you can see he has absolutely no pennable shot on me. He would have to relocate, which isn't always possible for the enemy. Now you want to make sure in the E100 you don't just sit out here side scraping like this and stare at someone waiting to shoot them, because they will shoot you in your turret front with heat or AP. They won't shoot you like that. They will shoot you like this and pen you. So whenever you're not aiming at someone to do damage and you're reloading, you should always look away. Now another interesting thing, and while you're playing E100 you have to be careful doing this with someone that knows what they're doing, but if you see an E100 like this cresting over a hill, I'm static here, but if I was cresting, you can pen through the track and up to the hull and do damage by shooting there. So don't shoot the lower plate, shoot the track. It's tempting to shoot the lower plate because obviously it's weaker than it even usually would be because the angle is gone. But you can shoot the track through angles like this. So yeah, I'm showing you here kind of how to do it both ways. You have to make sure you're at these kinds of angles to make sure it works, but you can permatrack an E100 just by shooting the tracks here. And if they've used the repair kit, they're absolutely screwed. So here's a little bit of an example how to side scrape. So your enemy fires, you come out, you poke, and then you sit there, and then that's it. So yeah, I just want to show you. This is why AP is bad. That is the weak point of an IS-7 from the front end. My AP bounce. Now the AP can pen that. That was kind of just an unfortunate roll. Again, like I explained with the why I use heat, because you want to mitigate that kind of RNG. You really don't want that to happen. So you know, even though that was weak, it still didn't go through because I probably got a low roll, and that's it. You bounce and then you're reloading again. Again, that's AP on an angled IS-7, which again makes the IS-7 armor weak because it's a pike nose. It should be frontally facing you, and I couldn't pen it. So if we tried the exact same shot with heat, it should be fine. This is why you can't use AP, because it just will bounce. It's too RNG dependent. There's a nice heat pen. GG. This is why heat makes this tank effective and AP doesn't. That IS-7 lower plate isn't that well armored. That upper armor there on the IS-7 isn't well armored. But here, this is an angled lower plate. Heat, no problem. So that's why you know you have to use that. Now, if you are going to use AP on the E100, you just have to be really, really clever with your aiming and when you shoot. Oftentimes you have to wait longer just to make sure the angle is perfect. So for example, if the IS-7 was right here and I caught him right here, boom, I can pen that. It's a better angle than before, but you can't always expect the enemy to just put themselves in an easy pen situation. So that's why heat is more important and more viable than AP. So thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you're watching it right now, as I literally just uploaded it, the 3 mark session video will come probably tomorrow or the day after. If you're watching this after this video has been uploaded for a while, please check out the 3rd mark session video where you can see a lot of these techniques put into use as I actually play the 100-2-3 market. So thanks so much for watching. Also guys, recently I hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is huge for me because just a little bit late last year I had like 3,000, so it's gone up a lot. I've been putting out more videos, and this PC allows me to put out better HD videos. This takes longer, but it's better for more quality content. So thank you so much for subscribing. Thanks for watching my stuff. I will be doing something to celebrate, but I'm still figuring that out. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.